Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would do it.
And then he speaks about Poilievre. They don't even, man, this surprised me. To tell you the truth, I'm just being honest with you. This surprised me. I'm going to tell you why. Watch this. Clinton Jaws, I don't want your money. I just want your subscription. So please subscribe. Big things are going to happen on this new channel. Wow. I've never seen Trump talk about Canada this way. I'm going to give you my opinion. I've got a few clips I'm going to show you. This just happened. It happened this morning. Bluffing or serious? Take a look. While the Liberals are on vacation, by the way, this is happening. While they're sucking on coffee and sleeping in. Brutal.
We'll impose new tariffs so that the products on our stores will once again be stamped with those beautiful words, made in the USA. And we are not treated well, as you know, by Canada. Canada is subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion a year, plus other things. They don't essentially have a military. They have a very small military. They rely on our military. It's all fine, but, you know, they got to pay for that. It's very unfair. I have so many great friends. One of them is the great one, Wayne Gretzky. I said, run for prime minister, you'll win it'll take 2 seconds. But he said, well, am I going to run for prime minister or governor? You tell me. I said, I don't know. Let's make it governor. I like it better. So we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too. And the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers, record numbers. So we're going to make up for that by putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada, substantial tariffs. And we want to get along with everybody, but, you know, they have to, it takes two to tango.
Substantial tariffs, he says. Now, if he's being serious, who's talking to him about it? Nobody's talking to him about it. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I'm going to tell you why we're not talking to him about it. And then he talks to Canada and the rest of the world about NATO. Watch this.
Now, Biden could have called them up during the term. That's what I did. I said, you have to pay your bills. And they all, one stood up. I won't say who, you'll probably have it, because the papers, the media hated to report on it. But a prime minister stood up from a country, you know, a famous meeting of 28 nations with no press, no anybody in the room. He stood up, he says, does that mean if we don't pay our bill, and at that point it was 2%, it should be 5%. It should be 5%, not 2%. But at that point it was 2%, but many people didn't pay. Some people didn't pay anything. But many people were way, including Germany. Germany was at less than 1%.
You're going to press for 5%?
Well, I think NATO should have 5%, yeah. Well, you can't do it at 2%. I mean, at 2%, every country, if you're going to have a country in a regular military, you're at 4%. I think they should be, you know, they're in dangerous territory. I think it should be, they can all afford it, but they should be at 5%, not 2%. I'm the one that got them to pay 2%. But a gentleman stood up, a prime minister stood up, and he said to me, sir, could I ask you a question? You're saying we have to pay our bills. If we don't pay our bills, will the United States protect us from Russia? I said, if you don't pay, you mean you're delinquent? He said, yes. He said, if you're delinquent, we will not protect you. I took a lot of heat. Although it was somewhat closed door, I took a lot of heat from the media. And you know what happened? The money started pouring in. That's why NATO has money. And the Secretary General said it was the most incredible thing he had ever seen in a negotiation. Now, if I would have said, yes, we will, nobody would have paid. If I would have loved to say, yes, we'll protect you even if you don't pay. But that's not the way life works.
If Canada doesn't pay, they might not be protected. What's Canada doing about that right now? Nothing. There is no government. They're sleeping. And then he speaks about Poilievre. They don't even, man. This surprised me. To tell you the truth, I'm just being honest with you. This surprised me. I'm going to tell you why. Watch this.
Mr. President, if we assumption that you're serious about making Canada the 51st state of the United States. The leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't care.
You had suggested
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Sir, real fast, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there. I love the Canadian people. They're great. But we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. You know, they make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need anything they have. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, we don't really want to have a partner in the buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope. No right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function. If we didn't take their 20% of our car market, they send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that. They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars, and we don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything, and we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question, but I can answer it. We're doing it because of habit, and we're doing it because we like our neighbors, and we've been good neighbors, but we can't do it forever, and it's a tremendous amount of money. And why should we have a $200 billion deficit and add on to that many, many other things that we give them in terms of subsidy? And I said, that's okay to have if you're a state. But if you're another country, we don't want to have it. We're not going to have it with European Union either. European Union, we have a trade deficit of $350 billion. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. And so we're not going to have it with them either.
Wow. Trudeau tells him, if you do this, Canada can't function. What does Trudeau do? He quits. He could have quit a long time ago. We could have had somebody in place that could be talking with Trump right now, nobody's negotiating with Trump. I honestly thought that Trump wanted Poilievre to become the leader. He wanted a conservative leader in Canada. But now I realize he doesn't even know who Poilievre is. They don't even know his name. Trump says he probably won't win. Doesn't even know what's going on. There's nobody talking to him. What did Trump say? I don't care what he says. I don't care what Poilievre says. Wow. What are we doing? Who's to blame for this? The liberals. The Liberal Party is to blame for it. You weak pieces of shit who are not working, who are on vacation right now. It just blows my mind. Jake Meat, you had multiple times. You had multiple chances to topple the government. And you waited too long. You didn't even do it. And now there's not going to be anybody from the Canadian government negotiating with Trump until spring or summer? I know it would only take one conversation between Pierre Poilievre and Donald Trump, and they would hammer out something. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen in Canada. Man, I don't think it's going to be 25% tariffs. But why? Nobody's talking to him. Nobody's negotiating with him. And we might not do anything about this until June 2025.
What's that?